You are a vain, greedy, cruel boy!
And you are an old man and a fool!
What is the secret truth behind how Thor Odinson received the name the God of Thunder? Why thunder, a sound, versus the God of Lightning?
What were you the god of again?
In fact, how does anyone become a god of anything in Asgard?
You are unworthy of these realms. You're unworthy of your title. You're unworthy.
Before we break down the reveal in full, the February giveaway is this wearable Iron Man electronic helmet, complete with magnetic faceplate. To enter is simple. 1. Like the video. 2. Subscribe and hit the bell notification. 3. Leave a comment below on how you think the Avengers will defeat Thanos. Consider the following. We know that the Asgardian lore in the MCU is based off real-world Norse mythology, which used gods and fables to explain real-world phenomena like thunder and lightning. And Thor was the god of both.
Sorry, I tried to rule Earth.
They'd be lucky to have you.
I'm sorry about that thing with the Tesseract. I just couldn't help myself.
I know.
I'm a trickster.
Yes, so mischievous.
Yeah.
But of course, Marvel stories, although borrowing heavily from Norse mythology, deviates from the source materials. Otherwise, Odin and his kin would be far more terrible than Marvel ever dare show. Just ask Mimir in God of War.
He tortures me, you know. Every day, brother. Odin himself sees to it personally, and believe me, there is no end to his creativity. Every single day.
Take, for example, Odin's other children, though.
What am I?
You're my son.
What more than that?
Loki was acquired as a baby by Odin, being discarded by his father Laufey, and is technically not even of Asgardian descent, but of frost giant lineage. Yet, he bears the title God of Mischief.
Laufey's son.
We find out that Loki's power was mastering sorcery, as taught to him by his adoptive mother Frigga, and with it, he was known to cause mischief.
I was his weapon in the conquest that built Asgard's empire.
Hela, Thor's biological sister, at some point acquires the title the Goddess of Death.
Goddess of death. Hela. A firstborn.
What kind of a dad would Odin be if he looked at her as a baby and thought, "You look like a goddess of death"? And as we see in Thor Ragnarok, she herself once wielded Mjolnir for a time.
But then, simply because my ambition outgrew his, he banished me, caged me, locked me away like an animal.
Why isn't she the goddess of lightning? And why then Odin isn't referred to as the god of anything except maybe wisdom on Midgard, but instead the Allfather?
I, Odin Allfather.
And his father, Bor, the king of Asgard, was the same. No god title. So how exactly does this phenomenon take place? Well, as we found out recently in Thor issue number 10, it seems to be a title in which Odin directly bestows himself.
I, Odin Allfather, to proclaim you.
The comic reads from the perspective of Odin and says, "I'll tell you a secret about the mighty Thor. When he was a baby, he was terrified of storms. I first called him the God of Thunder out of mocking contempt because he wailed so loudly every time it sprinkled rain. Though I suppose over the years, he has grown into the name." The Odin we see in the MCU doesn't seem to share the comic's malicious streak. However, that may not be entirely true.
She does not belong here in Asgard any more than a goat belongs at a banquet table.
It seems Odin was a very different man when Thor was but a boy, as evidenced by his conquering of the 9 realms with Hela.
Who do you think you are?
I'm Odin, king of Asgard.
He was already softening his stance on war and growing in wisdom, as we see by the end of Ragnarok. But it makes sense. Thor as a boy was mockingly called the god of thunder.
Oh shit.
Versus lightning, which would be more apt and, I dare say, more badass. We do know Asgardians inherit innate abilities such as prolonged life, superhuman speed, strength, etc. Only Odin's children seem to have more of Odin's base power, or the Odin Force, which we will dive into. But more importantly, you can see how Odin would name the remainder of his children. Loki, although not of Asgardian heritage, known for his love of illusion and deception, and so was dubbed by his father the God of Mischief.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that you'll always be the god of mischief, but you could be more.
I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, the commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne and the goddess of death.
Hela with a bloodlust that could not be sated. Once Odin's executioner, I think that's why Odin bequeathed her the title, the goddess of death.
Let's go see my palace.
Yet Thor would be a harder case if this wasn't true. We don't know if he had any lightning-based powers pre-Mjolnir.
It's not possible.
Darling, you have no idea what's possible.
Hence why he was so distraught when he lost Mjolnir to Hela. Yet he was always obsessed with proving himself, and he would have seen Mjolnir as a boy, hence why he overcame his fear of thunder. And Mjolnir, which he later inherits, and unsurprisingly has the abilities he covets, the ability to control what he once fears, thunder and lightning, which we see was his obsession in the original Thor, to prove his worth at any cost.
You are unworthy of these realms, unworthy of your title! You're unworthy!
So, imagine Thor being a boy staring at Mjolnir, dreaming of possessing the power of lightning. So we know how he earned his moniker, but how does Thor retain his status as the god of thunder without Mjolnir? We know when stripped of his hammer and power by Odin himself, we see he doesn't retain any of his former powers granted by the magical hammer, which mirrors the comics in which if he loses contact with the hammer, he actually reverts back to his human form. We also see Hela, without Mjolnir, doesn't seem to possess any lightning-based abilities. Thor, however, regains these lost abilities much to his own surprise in Thor Ragnarok. The answer is the Odin Force, known as the source of Odin's power, and in the comics is passed down from one king to another. It is why Odin gives himself and his royal bloodline their abilities. It can be inherited upon the previous king's death.
Oh, Father, you look weary.
I believe that's why Odin knew, upon his death, Thor would absorb some of his power as would Hela, why we see Odin in Thor's visions every time he seems to unlock said abilities. Thor manipulates the Odin Force energy in the form of lightning, and it's also why Thor's power is exponentially greater in Ragnarok, yet he has trouble controlling it, as it's so foreign to him, and why he believes his lightning-based abilities were all attributed to the hammer. Because until Odin passed, they probably were. And also how Hela could destroy Mjolnir. We've only seen Odin himself with the power of the Odin Force to control the power of Mjolnir. And as we know, Hela was kept at bay only by Odin's powers when he was still alive, so when he passed, she had not only surpassed him, but also could control the Odin Force.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
If you want to support the channel in a more personal way, then check out this Avengers Endgame inspired collection. Get your own Infinity Gauntlets, stylish Infinity Ring that I really want. You know we've got mugs, and everything Avengers you could want, and some maybe that you don't want, like Cap's shield as a cheese board, but hey, zero judgment. The link is in the description, so you don't have to do anything except click, and it'll be at your door in a snap, if you use Amazon Prime.
You ever tried shawarma? There's a shawarma joint about 2 blocks from here. I don't know what it is, but I want to try it.